Scout and Leia are trying to make eye contact with you, acknowledge that. Make sure that they understand that that's what you want them to do. You don't want them to make any of their own decisions. You want them to check in with you. And this also goes for before you give them any kind of treat. Let's say you are doing treat training and you have Scout sit down and all she's doing is staring at the food in your hand. She's not looking at you, she's not paying attention to you. Her eyes are only on the food. We want to make sure that she doesn't receive that piece of food until she makes eye contact. So, always want to encourage that. Always want our dogs to check in with us. Okay, so I'm not going to talk too much throughout this video here. I'm going to be mostly working with her so you can see how we've been doing. Alrighty, so here we go. Freebie there. Go. All right. So, considering that you guys have two very large, very strong dogs, and you know, I have experience walking some very large, unruly dogs, so I know exactly what you're going through when you have two girls that just want to go someplace that you maybe don't want to go. So, I have, like I did with Scout, the lead in a specific spot on the neck. Now this is really important. It enables me to have complete head control when I'm working with large dogs. Leia could easily drag me down the street if she desired to do so. So always remember that if you have control over your dog's head, you have control over your dog. And you don't want to use a lot of force with your dogs. You want to use as little force as possible and keep their exposures to the outside world as pleasant as possible. Okay, so just remember, you're going to have the lead in the proper position behind the ears. So behind the ears, the very top part of the neck. And I like this slip lead in particular because it's really squishy and soft, and it has this nifty little leather thing here that so I can keep the lead in its proper position at the top part of the neck. Now, when Leia decides that she's going to go forward and check out that fire hydrant over there, I want to avoid pulling back. This is going to make the lead slide down to where the collar is. It's going to create that harness effect. That's going to empower the dogs. We don't want that. We want them to be under our control completely. So, instead of pulling back, again, we want to avoid that no pulling back or down. All we're going to do is either you have the option of going in front of your dog if you're walking one at a time. So, she's getting a little bit ahead of you. We're going to quickly go in front of her and go to the left. Now, if you don't want to do that, you don't have enough room to make a left turn, simply turn around and go in the opposite direction. She's going to have no choice but to follow you. And I highly recommend when you guys get home and you start putting all this boot camp stuff into play, walking the dogs individually first, and then after you're comfortable with how they're walking nicely by themselves with one person, then you can put them together and try to walk them then. Now we want to try to work with them individually at first when we get home. The reason being is because it's their home environment, they're really comfortable there. Chances are they're going to try to go back to the same old routine. We want to avoid that. We want to remain consistent with what they have been taught here. So start with one dog first, individually, like I said, walking with Leia. Of course, you're going to reinforce all of those commands, making sure that she's paying attention to you, she's following through. Then you can work individually with Leia, or excuse me, with Scout, and do the same thing. And then when you're comfortable with how they are walking, you can put them together. Okay, let's try this again. We're going to incorporate some stays here. Yes. Together, specifics, sit, stay, down, stay. Now, don't set your dog up for failure if you have them do a sit, stay. Don't make it a long time. Down stays a little bit more comfortable. Okay, so we're going to increase that time that she's going to be in that down stay. All right, I'm going to take a seat right next to the camera here. I'm going to move around a little bit, make some noises. sure they're going